And first, an update on Israel-Gaza conflict now. Israeli troops expanded their operation in Rafah, the southernmost city in the Gaza Strip, on Tuesday, with tanks advancing towards the city's center amid heavy gunfire. Following hours of intense air and artillery bombardment of Rafah on Monday night, the Israeli ground offensive has forced tens of thousands of residents to flee. On Tuesday night, an Israel Defense Forces spokesman issued a new evacuation order for multiple areas west of Jabalia in northern Gaza, requiring local people to evacuate to the west of Gaza City. Meanwhile, considering the evolving situation, the Egyptian government is considering downgrading its diplomatic relations with Israel. And Russian President Vladimir Putin will be visiting China from Thursday, where he will exchange views with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, Putin on bilateral relations and cooperation in various fields. The two-day visit will also witness two presidents outlining priorities for further practical cooperation and have in-depth exchange of views on the most pressing international and regional issues. Following their talks, the two leaders are expected to sign a joint statement and several bilateral documents. It would be Putin's first foreign trip since he was sworn in for his fifth term as Russian president on the 7th of May. And ahead of the visit, Putin has said Moscow remained open to dialogue and talks to solve the more than two-year-old conflict. Speaking to China's Xinhua news agency ahead of his visit to Beijing this week, Putin backed China's plan for a peaceful settlement of the Ukraine crisis. He said Beijing had a full understanding of what lay behind the crisis. Beijing put forward a 12-point paper more than a year ago that set out general principles for ending the war but did not get into the specifics. And in an unannounced visit to the Ukrainian capital, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has promised more support as Russia gains ground. He asserted that what Russia should and must pay to rebuild what they have destroyed in Ukraine.
Making Russia pay for Ukraine's recovery and reconstruction. What Putin destroyed, Russia should and must pay to rebuild. It's what international law demands. It's what the Ukrainian people deserve.
While Blinken, who is visiting Ukraine after Congress passed the long-delayed $61 billion aid package, held meetings with a slew of leaders in Kyiv, including President Volodymyr Zelensky, Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, and civil society representatives. He also expressed U.S.'s intentions to use its power to seize Russian assets, as leaders demand to ensure uninterrupted assistance from Western partners.
Our Congress has given us the power to seize Russian assets in the United States. We intend to use it. We're working with our G7 partners to see that Russia's immobilized sovereign assets are used to remedy the damage that Putin continues to cause. The G7 can unlock billions of dollars and send a powerful message to Putin that time is not on his side.
In recent attack, Moscow carried out a series of air strikes on residential areas in the city of Kharkiv in northeastern Ukraine on Tuesday, injuring at least 20 people. At least 15 garages caught fire near another residential building after being struck by the guided bombs. The Russian Defense Ministry also said that its air forces destroyed 10 long-range ATACMS missiles that Ukraine's military launched overnight at Crimea. And violence in French Pacific territory of New Caledonia refuses to die after France voted to amend the New Caledonia's voting rule. 3 people were killed in fresh clashes and over 130 arrests made so far. French authorities have imposed curfew and banned public gatherings until Thursday. Authorities deployed a heavy security contingent and also closed the main airport. President Emmanuel Macron has condemned the violence and called for calm. The unrest were triggered as Paris allowed French residents who have lived in New Caledonia for 10 years to vote in provincial elections. And meanwhile, in a recent spat between the US and China, Beijing has vowed to resolutely defend its interest in the face of huge new tariffs imposed by Washington. It also warned that the trade barriers would affect the wider relationship between the two economic superpowers. China has already criticized the plans. The new measures impact $18 billion in Chinese imported goods, including steel and aluminium, semiconductors, batteries, critical minerals, solar cells and cranes. The World Trade Organization has already ruled that the Section 301 tariffs are in violation of WTO regulations, yet the US side has continued its wrongdoing. And now shifting focus to North Korea, where its leader Kim Jong-un oversaw a tactical missile weapon system that will be newly installed at missile units of its army. Kim expressed a satisfaction with missile system production in the first half of the year and emphasized on maintaining the momentum in its bid to ensure readiness for war. Last week, Kim inspected the country's artillery weapon system and attended the test firing of such weapons. And in the Georgian capital, thousands of protesters shut down a major intersection after Parliament passed the third and final reading of a foreign agents bill. The legislation now faces a likely veto by Georgia's president, which the Parliament can override by holding an additional vote. The foreign agents law would require organizations receiving more than 20% of their funding from abroad to register as agents of foreign influence. The White House said on Tuesday the United States is deeply troubled by Georgia's foreign agents legislation.
We're deeply troubled by Georgia's Kremlin-style foreign agents legislation, which just passed, as you just stated, Parliament, and we expect the president to veto it. While it is unclear whether Parliament will try to override a potential veto, we have been outspoken about our concerns with the legislation, which runs counter to democratic values and would move Georgia further away from the values of the European Union, and let's not forget also NATO.
While campaigners in New York City are pushing for a ban of non-essential helicopter rides, they say the thousands of rides taking place each year cause unacceptable levels of noise pollution and air pollution for the residents. Some helicopter models produce as much as 950 pounds of carbon dioxide emissions per hour, which advocates say is bad for the planet and people's health. Others, though, question what impact banning rides could have on the lucrative tourism industry. Sally Patterson reports for more.
Clearer skies and quieter lives.
In the past year, there have been 59,000 complaints filed to New York City Council over helicopter noise. Council members here are working on legislation to reduce the environmental and public health impact of non-essential flights.
One idling helicopter is 40 idling cars. We're here as in New York City trying to reduce cars on the road. We're doing all of these protocols around it. We really need to make sure that we continue being an industry leader, a climate change leader.
Yes, helicopter rides are a pull for tourists visiting the city. But those pushing the legislation say the revenue from flights isn't financially worth it.
These two helipads owned by the city generate about $2 million in revenue. And, we have a budget of over $110 billion in the city of New York. It is a modest amount of money in the broader scheme of things, but it has a huge negative impact in our communities.
Under current rules, helicopters can be chartered from one of the city's airports as an alternative to taxis or public transport. And several companies offer sightseeing rides for an aerial view of New York's highlights.
In just the 10 minutes or so that we've been standing here, we've seen 8 different helicopters landing behind us. From this heliport in downtown Manhattan, tourists can enjoy a ride across the city for around $250. But people living in the flight path say they're the ones paying the real price.
Mimi Kajina lives just across the East River. She tells me the flights run over her home all day, 7 days a week.
The dishes on the shelves rattle. You can't speak to the person standing next to you in your own home. You have to stop and wait for the helicopter to pass by. For an individual to have the money to harass, basically it's harassment, harass thousands of people every 20 minutes, I think it's wrong.
One of the council's proposed laws would implement a noise tax on flights taking off or landing at the city's heliports.
And if that were done, I estimate that tax, which would be passed on to the passengers, would eliminate a third to a half of the demand for helicopters. So it would get rid of as much as a half of helicopter flights.
But in order to outlaw the city's popular helicopter highway, campaigners likely have a choppy ride ahead. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
And floods wreaked havoc in northeastern Argentina after heavy rains lashed southern Brazil in recent days. Hundreds of families have been displaced by the flooding of the overflowing Uruguay River. Over 500 people have been evacuated from the flood-battered region. Rivers in South Brazil are rising as flood rescue efforts continue. At least 147 people have been killed and more than 800 injured in the deluge, while rescuers are searching for 127 people reported missing. 2 weeks after the onset of torrential rains, the Guaíba River, running by state capital Porto Alegre, is rising again, having passed the all-time high. In the state of Rio Grande do Sul, the streets of dozens of towns have turned into slow-moving rivers. And Nepal is set to formulate a plan of action to replace the fossil fuel with clean and renewable energy so as to attain the net zero carbon emissions target by 2045. The Nepal government will prepare an action plan with the goal to execute the commitments to improve the current scorching scenario of human-driven climate change. A Nobel Prize-winning Canadian writer Alice Munro, who was honored with the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2013, passed away. She was 92. The news of her death was announced by Munro's publisher on Tuesday. She was suffering from dementia for at least a decade. Munro's achieved critical acclaim for her exquisitely crafted tales of the loves, ambition and travails of small-town women in her native land. And in an attempt to compete with OpenAI rivals, Google parent company Alphabet has unveiled beefed-up AI chat box as competition heats up. The new AI features unveiled on Tuesday will help investors evaluate Alphabet's progress as it races against Microsoft, OpenAI and other rivals in emerging technology domain. Google announced improvements to its Gemini Pro 1.5 model that is capable of making sense of a massive amount of data. Google said it was doubling that amount to 2 million tokens, meaning the AI potentially could answer questions when given thousands of pages of text or more than an hour of video to ingest. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. At the glittering Cannes Film Festival, Bharat Pavilion named Sutradhara will be inaugurated today. Indian economy projected to expand at 6.6% in financial year 2025. And in sports, Indian shuttlers Sitvik Sairaj, Renka Reddy and Chirag Shetty began their campaign at Thailand Open Badminton Tournament with thumping win.
Tracking the fifth phase of general elections, Team Poll Pulse has reached the financial capital of India, Mumbai. In this phase, 13 seats are up for grabs in Maharashtra, including 6 in Mumbai. In the last 2 years, the political equation of Maharashtra have dramatically changed after a split between the two major regional parties, Shiv Sena and the NCP. As campaigning peaks, there are now 6 principal political players in the fray. Join us as we track the pulse of Indian democracy. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and now let's get to the latest in the world's largest democratic election in India. While campaigning continues to gain momentum ahead of Phase 5 of the Indian general elections, leaders from various political parties will be holding rallies on Wednesday. 49 seats are going to polls in this phase on the 20th of May. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be holding a roadshow in Mumbai in Maharashtra state. He is also scheduled to address 2 public meetings in the state. BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah will address a rally in West Bengal. BJP candidate and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is scheduled to address a rally in Lucknow. Singh is seeking a 3rd term as a Member of Parliament from the constituency. Opposition Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will participate in a bike rally in Odisha. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi is scheduled to hold election campaign in Uttar Pradesh state. While Aam Aadmi Party Supremo and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal will be attending a public meeting in UP's Lucknow. And for more, we have a correspondent from the ground with us, Gautam Roy from Leh and Shishir Cheller from Mumbai. Gautam, my first question to you. The Ladakh Lok Sabha seat spread over Kargil and Leh districts will go to polls in the 5th phase. What are the major issues there which can affect the polls?
Bakshi, well, one of the major issues, of course, is the fact that Ladakh is a very sensitive zone. It's a remote territory, and I can show you how the topography is really, if I could ask my camera person to pan. It is a mountainous region, a land of high passes. It's the largest constituency in the country. So there are issues related to connectivity, issues related to water, to other resources as well. Life is pretty hard here, especially in the winter. This is the summer right now and the peak of the tourist season, and sometimes that too becomes a bit of an issue. We've seen in Ladakh that issues that dominate are related to the fact that even after the abrogation of Article 370, when the entire state was organized through a parliamentary act, Jammu Kashmir, the state, ceased to exist, and union territories were born. One of them is Ladakh. They are seeking greater autonomy. Some demand even statehood, and they want basically a larger control over their own lives. They want their identity to be totally sort of protected, and they're seeking the protection of the Indian Constitution under the 6th schedule as well. So these are the topmost issues that really dominate, and which is why the politics that plays out in Ladakh is also colored by it, is influenced by it. And we are seeing that play out as well, this time as well. The BJP has been sending a representative to Parliament for the last 2 elections with a very thin majority. And this time it's a 3-cornered contest because the BJP changed its candidates. The sitting MP is not contesting. There's another candidate that's been put by the BJP. The Congress and the NC came together initially. The people were under the impression that the candidate will be from Kargil, but the candidate is from Leh, because of which both the NC and the Congress cadres in Kargil have revolted, and they're supporting a 3rd candidate who's an independent candidate who used to be with the NC. So a 3-cornered contest here in accordance with the aspirations of the people in Ladakh, and it's pretty interesting which way it will go on the 20th.
All right. All right, my second question to you, Shishir. A major part of Mumbai goes to polls in the next phase. That's the 5th phase, and 13 seats are up for grabs. Prime Minister rally is also in the state today. How intense are the campaigns?
Well, particularly in Maharashtra, the political heat is at peak right now, because you rightly said that Mumbai is going for a poll and all the eyes set on the 6 seats of Mumbai. Well, we are now nearing to the 5th phase here, and on 20th, the election will take place, and that's the reason Mumbai is geared up. And so far, we have seen that even the political parties have also swung into action, and we've seen some of the big leaders, star campaigners are in Mumbai, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be will have a road show on Mumbai streets here. But before that, he'll be addressing a public rally in Kalyan and also in northern Maharashtra region, that is in Nasik as well. So obviously, the northern Maharashtra and the Mumbai suburb and the Mumbai region will go for the poll, and that's the reason this is the last and 5th phase for the Maharashtra election. And that's the reason we have seen that not just the current NDA alliance, but the India alliance is also taking public rallies and press conferences across city and the entire region here. Well, obviously, if you look at the equation at this point in time, particularly in Mumbai, because I rightly said here that all the eyes set in Mumbai, that's the reason the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena actually has a good strong hold in Mumbai. But in recent time, we have changed that the entire scenario in Mumbai has changed. Ultimately, we'll see that results probably in this particular election also. And this time around, after the split in Shiv Sena, now we are seeing here that Shiv Sena is not just fighting against their own faction, that is a Shiv Sena led by Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, but they're also fighting with the BJP. And that's the reason this time around we have seen here that the Shiv Sena led by Eknath Shinde and the BJP has got a good numbers of seats here, because one of the important candidates, Union Minister Piyush Goyal, is also contesting from North Mumbai. And that's the reason, if you look at the candidature from the BJP's perspective, also from BJP has fielded Piyush Goyal from North Mumbai seats. We also seen that a very well-known advocate, Ujjwal Nikam, is also contesting from the North Central seat here. So these are the important candidature that BJP has fielded. Equally, Shiv Sena, that is led by the Shinde faction, has also fielded from the important seats here, be it South Mumbai also, maybe in, talking about the South Central Mumbai also, where Eknath Shinde faction's led candidate is actually contesting. So obviously, the 20th is what we're waiting for, and probably Mumbai, the luck will be locked in ballot box probably on 20th. We'll see what exactly the result will come out.
All right, thank you so much, Shishir and Gautam, for all that update from there. And 14 of the 15 members of a team of Hindustan Copper Limited who had been trapped in India's Kolihan mine collapse in Jaipur were rescued. One member, severely injured, shifted to the hospital. The incident took place after lift carrying vigilance team crashed in the late hours of Tuesday. And on to some business news now. Moody's ratings pegged the growth of the Indian economy at 6.6% for financial year 2024-2025. The global agency said that the growth will be driven by a strong credit demand that will boost the non-bank financial companies sector. It also said that the Indian economy has emerged stronger from the COVID-19 pandemic. Moody's added that India benefited from infrastructural development. And in sports, Indian shuttlers Satvik Sairaj Rankareddy and Chirag Shetty kicked off their campaign at Thailand Open Badminton Tournament with a thumping win. The top-seeded Indian pair, who are one of the favourites to win the tournament, trounced the Malaysian pair of Nur Mohammad Azharain, Ayub Azharain and Tanvi Keong 21-13, 21-13 in straight games. Satvik and Chirag will pair the Chinese pair of Shi Hao Nan and Zheng Wei Han in the next round. Meanwhile, Indian top shuttler and last year's Thailand Open men's singles semi-finalist Lakshya Sen has pulled out of this year's tournament. Two-time Olympic medalist PV Sindhu has also decided to withdraw from the Thailand Open in order to focus on the Paris 2024 Olympics preparation. And the Indian javelin thrower and Olympic gold medalist Neeraj Chopra will compete in the 27th Federation Cup National Championship on Wednesday. Chopra will feature in the final of men's javelin throw event on the concluding day. The championship began on May 12th in India's eastern city of Bhubaneswar. This will be Chopra's first domestic competition since 2021. And at the Cannes Film Festival, Bharat Pavilion will be inaugurated today with the theme Create in Bharat. The pavilion is named as Sutradhar of the world. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.